What is going on, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. You know what, not even a little bit different. This is something I've never tried, but I've always wanted to try, and that is a homemade fishing rod challenge. So go out in the woods, try to find a good piece of lumber, bring it up and get to work on it, bring you guys through the whole process, and then I'm going to go attempt to catch a bass on it. So should be a good video. Stay tuned till the end, and if you're not already, hit that subscribe button and like this video for more challenges like this. Let's go find me a rod. Alright, to make it a little bit easier on myself, I'm going to throw on the GoPro right now, and then I'm going to head into the woods with a good old hatchet and find myself a piece of lumber. So we're going to switch to GoPro view right about now. Alright, so we're over to the GoPro and entering the good old woods behind my house in search of the perfect tree to make my fishing rod out of. So I want something that's straight, decently thin. I'm going to sand it down, but I want something that's pretty straight, not too thick, something that'll be easy to manage when building my own fishing rod. Might be difficult, might be easy. I'll get back to you guys whenever I find a possible fishing rod tree. Well, that didn't take long. I'm thinking that this tree right here could be a good potential fit for the rod. I'll have to test it out though, but I'm gonna cut off all these limbs, hopefully you guys can see them. Sand it down. Should be about 6 or 7 feet whenever it's all said and done, so let's get to chopping. There we have it. Might not look like much now, but this is gonna be the homemade fishing rod. Actually, while I'm down here, I just found another good looking tree. Actually looks like it might be a little bit better. So figured while I'm down here, might as well bring up 2. That way I have some options with which rod is better once I start to get to work on it. Okay, well, not necessarily the cleanest break ever, but we did get it to break. So now I just gotta get the clean cut like that. There we go. Let's knock off these limbs real fast. I want this rod to be at least a 6'6", so it means it has to be a little bit taller than me. And then this will be the tip of the rod. Okay. This one looks better already, actually, if we're gonna be honest, but hey, we got 2 to choose from now. Let's get to work. All right, so we're back in the garage. Got our pieces of lumber leaning up against here. The one's about a 6'6" right now, and obviously you can't make it any longer. The other one's probably like 8 or 9 foot, but I'm assuming I'm gonna go with the 6'6" one because it looks really good. The wood's pretty straight, and I think I'm gonna be able to make something out of that, so let's get started on that one. All right, now the first thing I think I'm gonna try to do is get all this bark off the outside of this limb. That way it'll give this nice inner part, which is soaked right now. Hopefully it'll dry, but we wanna get all this bark off, and then I'll start sanding it down to make the edges a lot smoother. Let's get you guys a first look at the process of how I'm gonna make my first ever homemade fishing rod. Alright guys, there you have it. It is shaved pretty much. It got all the bark off of it. It's looking pretty good, but it's really wet right now, so I'm going to put it outside in the sun because it's pretty hot today. Let it sit out there for like a half hour, something like that, just to try to dry it off a little bit before I start to sand it. But so far it's looking pretty good. I mean, it's a little bit heavy, but I really didn't expect much. I'm going out in the woods and getting a piece of wood. And this isn't going to be like a traditional bamboo rod. I'm going to get eyes from an old fishing rod, try to attach them onto this, and I'm even going to try to make a reel seat and put one of my old bait casting reels I never use on this thing, and then I'm going to go try to catch a fish. So Should be interesting. Stay tuned. Now for the fun part, cleaning up all the bark that I shaved off. So gotta do this or my dad would be really upset because I'm using his garage right now, but let's clean this up real fast. Well, good thing I found the second one, because the first one, no good. So we're throwing it in the woods and waiting on the first one to dry. Alright, so while I'm waiting for the rod to dry out in the sun, I'm going to attempt to take the eyes off of this old Zee Bait Co Rhino Tough, whatever it is, something that's super old that was in my shed. Has no use to me, that's the only reason I'm using it for this. But I'm going to attempt to take off these eyes, and then I got to figure out a way to get them onto the new homemade rod. Well guys, I tell you what, that was a lot more difficult than I thought it would be. What I ended up using was a razor blade. And I just sliced right along where it was like tucked underneath the wrapping and glued in. I just slowly worked that off until finally I got it to come off. So 1 down, 5 to go. By the time I'm done with this, the rod will probably be dried and ready to be sanded, and then I got to figure out how I'm going to get these onto it. So let's keep going. Alright, we got 5 eyes off of the old rod, so it's been about a half hour. Let's go check on the rod and see if it's dried out enough to start sanding. Oh yeah, it's ready to go. It's not nearly as wet as it was whenever I first got it. Took all the bark off, so we're going to sand it now, hopefully get it down to taper and turn it into a fishing rod. Alright guys, we're going old fashioned here. Sandpaper stuck to my hand, and we're going to go at it on this and hopefully get it to take a better shape and be a little bit more smoother, so it's easier to put the eyes, and then somehow I got to figure out how to make a real seat. So let's get right down to sanding. So I've decided that trying to make it taper down to a thinner end for the tip is pretty impossible with sandpaper. I mean, I'm sure it is possible, but it would take forever, so I'm just sanding it down to make sure it's nice and smooth. And now I'm going to try to put the reel seat in. I'm going to put it right where this little notch is. I'm going to try taking this little screwdriver here, and I'm going to try to wedge a little hole for the reel to sit up in, and then try to do the same thing back a little bit from it. Maybe try to glue it in, something like that. But most likely what's going to be the main stronghold for it will be duct tape around it. So I'm going to try to make it look as nice as possible, but making a reel seat in a piece of wood is not as easy as you would think. Alright, now we're going to cut off the end to make it nice and square, because I chopped it with a hatchet. So now we're going to cut off this end right here, make it square, sand it down. I think I got the reel seat flat enough that it'll fit, so we'll go get the reel after I'm done with this, and hopefully I can make it fit. And then I got to figure out how I'm going to get the eyes on there so they stay, and go catch some fish. So challenge is almost complete, but I have to catch a fish, so hopefully I can catch a fish. Anyways, let's get to work. There we go. Alright, now it is square. Gonna sand it off so it's nice and smooth. Then we'll get the reel, put it up here on the reel seat, and figure out the eyes. So if you guys can see, I cut a little notch right in there, and I tried to make it as flat and smooth as possible. That's where the front of the reel is going to sit up against. And here's the end of the rod. Doesn't look too bad. I sanded around the edges so they're nice and rounded. And there's the rest of the rod. It's decently straight. I mean, it's not perfect. Obviously, it's from the woods, but I'm going to try my best to make it work. Now let's go get the reel and see if I can put it on here. It fits up pretty nice with the slot I made, so I'm thinking it's going to work. I'm probably going to have to use some duct tape right around the reel seat to try to make it sit better, but all in all, it's not going to look too bad. So that's the reel. Just an old Bass Pro Shops Mega Cast, but it's going to get the job done. This thing actually didn't turn out too bad. The reel sits on it pretty good. The glue's holding it. Duct tape's pretty good reinforcement. And now I got to figure out how to put the eyes on. I think I have an idea, but I'm going to think about it a little bit more before I start, and hopefully once I get the eyes on it, line it up, and it should be good to go. Alright, I decided I changed my mind a little bit with the reel seat. I took Power Pro 30-pound braid and decided just to wrap it a bunch of times and tie it. And it seems like it's going to be able to hold it enough to be able to withstand a fight with a fish. I don't know about multiple fights, but that's what I decided to do. And I'm thinking that's what I'm going to do with the eyes too, is just take it, wrap it around it multiple times, and then tie it off or do something with it to help it stay, because that's the only way I can think of that'll work with the eyes, and hopefully it'll work whenever I finally get it all lined up and ready to go. It's coming along. All I pretty much did was take the Power Pro braid, wrap it through it a bunch of times, and then just weave it in and out, and then I just wrapped it so many times around different patterns and stuff. And then instead of tying it off, I just taped it down just for a little bit more reinforcement. Still moves a little bit, but not a lot. Should be enough to catch a fish. I got 2 more eyes to go, I believe, and then I'm going to line her up and head down to the pond with some creek chubs and hopefully catch a couple, or one at least, complete the challenge. So keep on going. Well guys, you know, some challenges are hard to do, you know, all that, but this one was honestly a challenge. So I got the reel on. What I ended up doing was a duct tape and the super glue at first, which I thought would work, but it didn't seem to work too well, so I went with wrapping it with Power Pro braid all around. Seems like it's going to be pretty sturdy. Hopefully I can catch a fish on it once I end up getting in the water. And the eyes were probably the hardest part of this whole entire challenge. What I did for that was the same concept as I did with the reel. Did the Power Pro braid, wrapped it around multiple times, then I taped it to help secure it down. And so far they seem like they're going to stay. They're definitely not going to slide forward. They have a little bit of wiggle room, but I think they're going to be sturdy enough to handle fish. Hopefully I don't hook up with one of the huge ones down there, but my luck I will. And then the very tip of it, I ended up doing it twice because I really need this to stay whenever I'm fighting a fish. So yeah, there it is, homemade fishing rod. Let's get some line on it, head down to the pond, throw out a creek chub, and hopefully hook into a bass and land it on the homemade fishing rod. Alright, to catch the minnows, I'm going to throw out my Zee's minnow trap. This thing works like a charm. I use it to feed the bass in the pond across the street. So we'll throw it on in there, let it sink down to the hole, and we'll come back in probably like 10 minutes and hopefully we'll have just at least one. That's all we need is one. Throw it out there in the pond across the street and it should get slammed. So let's get right back to you guys now we have some chubs. Alright, that's all the line we have, but we don't need very much for what we're doing. Now let's feed it through the eyes, get set up, go back down and grab the creek chubs. Here is the finished product. Not too shabby. Took a lot of work to get to this point, but hopefully it's all worth it whenever I can pull on a fish on the homemade fishing rod. All these people driving by, my neighbors are looking at me like I'm crazy right now. So I'm walking down carrying a camera with a giant bird on top of it, or cat, whatever you want to call it, and then a piece of lumber. But we're gonna get the trap and hopefully catch some fish at the old pond that Vinny and myself have stocked over the last about year and a half, 2 years. I know there's some brutes in there. I just hope, for the first time ever, I'm hoping I don't catch a big fish because I want to be able to land it, and I think this rod should be able to handle it. So let's set these down and let's pull up the trap. Oh yeah, I got some. That's what's so nice about this hole. Seems like every time I always catch some. So we're over here and we're gonna pop out a good sized creek chub right there. First cast. We're in the water. I don't want to catch a big one right now because I don't know how well. All right, moment of truth. Oh, this is so much harder than it looks. Oh, there we go. All right, oh, he got it. I gotta put on another one. It's just so hard to set the hook. All right, let's throw on another creek chub here. Put it right through the head. I could see one. A little bit of a backlash. Got him. Stay on, stay on. Oh. Oh, yes. It works. The homemade fishing rod challenge is a success. Nice little bass. I can't believe the rod didn't break or anything. That is impressive. There we go. On the homemade fishing rod. Let's get a release on them. Another one. Whoa. About the same size as the last one, maybe a little bit chunkier. Another one on the homemade fishing rod. There you have it, guys. Completed the challenge using the homemade fishing rod. Definitely a ton of fun, and it definitely was a challenge. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Comment down below what you think. If you want me to try more challenges, I'm down for it. Definitely was fun, but until next time, stay hooked.